Okay. Uh, Today I'm going to take small lessons, and that is related to elasticity. I hope you can hear me, and you can see the slide also I open. And so I'm not going to give you definitions what is elasticity and the basic, and we try to understand the interpretation and some application related to elasticity. When you discuss the elasticity related to demand and supply, the pure concept there, one of the things is we price elasticity that also related to demand and the supply. And also another important concept, we have to understand the income elasticity and the cross price elasticity. The whatever variable we take the demand or supply function, we can estimate the elasticity. For example, let's say the demand function, if you take the QD equal whatever the determinant here, you measure the demand function, taking each variable separately, you can measure the elasticity. If you look at the very simple concept of the demand elasticity, you take the price elasticity, we take the usually the symbol like epsilon P, we can write the change in percentage change in quantity divided by the percentage change in the price. If you take very simple the definition of the elasticity. Oh, I did not share, sorry. What I wrote. Yeah. This way we can take a very simple definition. Whatever the other concept elasticity, for example, income elasticity, let's say, that also you can develop such a way the percentage change in quantity in case of demand divided by the percentage change in, let's say, income. So we can do, let's say, another concept, cross price elasticity, quantity of X, another good, if you take the cross price elasticity, that is also the same way you can do the percentage change in the demand, let's say X good, percentage change in prices, let's say another good is it. So, like that, let's say your demand function or supply function, you have additional expenditure. Then you can measure the additional elasticity. There are also the percentage change in content demand divided by you can take the percentage change in advertisement expenditure. So such a way you can easily measure the elasticity. We will try some here. Now take the price elasticity again. Price elasticity of demand, like I indicate, is the percentage change in quantity divided by the percentage change in prices. Now, if you have a demand curve like this side the price, this side the quantity. Now, let's say today this happened. Price change or price increase. Let's say by 10%. The prices increase by 10%. Let's say the stock price or whatever the price you decide that increased by 10%. Result, let's say the quantity demand decrease when the price increase, the decrease, let's say by another simple number, let's say 15%. 15%. Now with that you can see very easily we can get the price elasticity here. 15 divided by 15% divided by 10%. Anyone can get that from the market or from any newsletters, and how percentage change the price and the quantity. With that you can measure easily the price elasticity become in this case 1.5. Of course the minus so the opposite direction happen, that become minus 1.5. So that's a simple way to understand. And day to day, let's say you play with the stock market, you play with the whatever the foreign exchange market or whatever the others. If you get the percentage change and then the quantity demand, you can measure the elasticity. That is very important to understand the future forecasting. If you keep the measure long term and the short term, the price elasticity. Another standard micro formula also the other, let's say the price elasticity to measure, we can say the change in quantity, that is also same concept, divided by the change in price multiplied by current price or given price or given quantity. I'll take this formula right now just to go with and to understand. Now let's say we have a demand function QD equal 8 minus let's say 2p. 8 minus 2p. Very simple demand function. Now, what I need from you, since this equation is given, different prices, for example, let's say the price $4, and let's say the price $3, $2, and $1 and 0. I'll give you about 5 minutes. That can you measure the price elasticity? Each prices $4, $3, $1, and 0. And after that, draw the demand curve and let's say you get the demand curve, you have to properly draw each point. For example, price $4, to map the, let's say price is $2. Here, let's say point C, map the elasticity what you get. We'll mark some, let's say the price for A, B, C, D, and E. I find here. So like right now, in 35, I gave you 5 minutes. So between 10:40, okay, so take 7 minutes, 10:42. I want to see at least one of you how to calculate those things. After that, I will continue. So this is the demand function. You have to measure the elasticity 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 each dollar and map here. That's what you have to do. Any question? So if anyone has done, I want to see it. Okay, it's look like no volunteers and check view, and if nobody respond, I remove, or no one respond, I'll stop the class also. Someone called Bhagya. Here writing Bhagya ACC. It seems not responding. Yeah. I think when I just asked already 3 remove themselves, I'm going to remove others. And didn't it,
Yes, sir.
did you do that?
Yes, sir. Shall
Can
I share?
you? Yeah.
Yes, sir. That I hope you can see it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks. 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 Chandrasil.
Yes, sir. I did it. Shall I share with the?
No, if you want to, you can do that. Can it?
Sir. Can you see?
I want to show. No, I can't see. Okay, that's also maybe it's not focusing properly the camera. Oh, now I can see. Right. Thanks. Okay. What I did is here basically asked to estimate the elasticity at the different the prices. The 4 here, that is in our case the maximum price, and 3, 2, 1, and 0. So if the price is 0, what happened at this point, elasticity 0. Here the prices become 4, where the quantity become in that case 0. The elasticity become infinity, all negative, though I don't try. Now let's say if the price is 3, how to measure the elasticity? The others you can do for the price elasticity. Now here, this part, delta Q or delta P, we can say as the slope here, the standard demand function, let's say the B, that is the slope. The always, since it's the linear demand function, this part become -2. So the -2, the price what we try to estimate the elasticity 3, when the price become 3 times 3 times 2 is 6, 8 minus 6 become 2. So the elasticity become at that point, if the price is 3 minus 3, which means this point, elasticity minus 3. Similarly, I hope you have calculated the one also, the elasticity, you get the minus 0.333 like that. And the price 2, that's what we call mid price, elasticity become 1. That always happen, the midpoint, you get the elasticity is equal to 1. Now I have a small question for you. Anyone can respond. Let's say you run a business. When you estimate the price elasticity, you got the elasticity equal to minus 3, which means your price right now 3. If the price is $3, you, in order to increase your revenue, the best option, increase the price or decrease the price. The best option at that point, increase the price or decrease the price. Anyone can respond.
You can decrease the price.
Decrease the price.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Why? How is that?
Response in change in demand, the demand increase is less than the price percentage change in price.
So ultimately, what happened? Decrease in price, your revenue increase.
Revenue increase, yes.
Opposite, if you look at this side, let's assume that you realize your market price is now $1. You get the chance to change the price. The best thing is at this point, increase price or decrease price. If you right now, the market price is $1.
You can increase the price.
Now look at here. If you know the price elasticity, if the price elasticity is less than 1, which means we are talking about range, the price elasticity less than 1, the absolute term, as a strategy, increase the price is the best way if you want to increase the revenue. If you are dealing, the price elasticity is greater than 1 point here, what we call elastic. Decrease the price is the best option if you want to increase the revenue. Now, as a manager, or as a business owner, now it's clear, if you know the if you have with your hand the calculator to estimate the price elasticity, then you can see as a strategy, change in price. If you get a decrease or increase price, you can decide easily. Another important thing connect to this, I'll draw again this demand curve. Here the elasticity equal to 1. I don't write negative, but it always negative. The price is 2. With this, I can draw another curve, that the revenue curve it's behave like this. Let's say point C here. Point C. The point here, look at say, for example, if you are point A here, if the price increase, you move to this direction. Let's say somewhere point B, you move here, point A to point B, which means your revenue goes down. If the elasticity is greater than 1, so that is the result. The opposite, if the elasticity is less than 1, now let's say somewhere here, point E, point E, if you decrease price to reach somewhere here, let's say the point F, you can see the result. The price reduction result, revenue goes down. So in that case, as a strategy, if you get a chance to change the price, the best thing in order to increase the revenue, the price increase. So that relationship, I hope you notice. And in that case, the price elasticity, having with you estimated price elasticity, take a decision, the managerial decision, very important indicator, very important tools. So historical data or using the market current data also, you can measure the elasticity. Usually what happens, take the historical data and measure the elasticity. There you can measure the long-term and short-term elasticity. So that's one of the important as a policy making level or managerial decision making level, understand the price elasticity. And also you can see later on future prediction also. For example, if you can predict the price or the other indicator change in future, for that you can use the other time series analysis or any other econometrics or modeling, or maybe your own judgment. And then you can decide as a producer, your production line, your logistic arrangement, and all the other things you can, accordingly, you can plan. So that is a very important thing. Now let me back to the slide. Yeah. So this is the price elasticity. I show you how to measure, how to get it. And this is the first exercise I did with you, the percentage change in the quantity divided by percentage change in price. You can measure the elasticity. For example, price increased by 10%, result, suppose the quantity reduced by 15%, the elasticity becomes 1.5. Of course, that is negative. So the measurement is straightforward, is very, you can do it easily. So there are so many packages, so many things you can do that. The important thing is this figure. How are you going to use for policy making purpose or managerial decision purpose? Like I mentioned, right now we saw that if the elasticity is greater than, in this case, of course, the greater than 1, if you increase price further, the result you get a revenue decrease. Now in the market economy, unless the monopoly or oligopoly, monopolistic competition, you can't change the price. Now in this case, what? Now this case, two things may happen. Let's say the one of the ways to price change, the government control. Government take the hand and government change the price. So it's directly out of your control, but it's indirectly business community, country like Sri Lanka especially, since they support all the parties in the election, whatever the party come to power, they have upper hand, they influence the price changes and other changes, that's something. But suppose that is not, if the government change the price, increase or decrease, then if you know the elasticity at that point, you can accordingly change your business strategy, including logistic, including production process, all the things you can change to adjust the situation. What does mean? That's the situation. If the government increase price, even the price elasticity is greater than 1.1, like situation 1.5, you know the government increase price, your revenue goes down. So then you have to think of new strategies to keep the revenue at the same level or increase that. Because you can't touch the government. Of course, the political economics always the business community do, because they are the one behind the screen control the government, whatever the government. Because they are the one who give the political parties a lot of money, the election gap. That is the political economics. That's different. But small firms, it may be difficult, take the national level decision and change the national level decision. So in that way, you have to think of your strategy as an entrepreneur to stay in the same level of revenue. Or this apply not direct price changes, and if the government introduce tax also. Because with the tax, what happened? The price increase or decrease happen. Basically increase. Input price decrease, increase thing happen. So that related to supply. So you have to make the other managerial decision strategies accordingly. So that's the point. Now this is the exercise what we did. We estimate the price elasticity, this production, this demand function, and we found that the different prices, here I used here, different, the price is 0, elasticity is 0, price is 2, elasticity is 2, 1. The maximum point here, infinity. When the price increase, in case of the linear demand curve, same constant linear demand curve, elasticity also increase. Elasticity also increase. If it is the elastic rate, which means the price elasticity is less than, If this happens, your revenue also increase. But in case of elastic range, which means above the mid price situation, your revenue decrease and this happens. So understanding those changes very important. It's not just calculate the price elasticity. So read the number is very important. Now, what we see the same slope demand curve with the price change move along the demand curve, price elasticity change. When the slope change also, for example, let's say the original demand curve is like this. We have another demand curve 2, different slope, same price also elasticity change. Now two things, same slope, when the price change, the elasticity change. Another one, same price, if the slope change, the elasticity also change. Slope change happen due to nature of the demand and nature of the goods. So that's two things you have to understand. Now, the one of the key factor is the price elasticity, price like. The other determinants, like the determinants for demand, very important to understand. Whether one thing is the number of substitutes. Yeah. So that influence the price changes. So that's affect to the elasticity. And also another important determinants, the expenditure, proportion of the expenditure, particular goods. If you have budget $100, for example, whether you expend bigger proportion, something like 80%, or a very small proportion, that affect to change the price elasticity. Because in case of smaller changes, the price increase, decrease as a consumer customer, you don't much worry. So in that way, most probably they become inelastic situation. And durability of the good also, which means if you can use the goods for a long time and the short period of time, that also affect to the elasticity. The other one, what we discussed, the length of the time period, whether you calculate the price elasticity short run and the long run. Now, for example, let's say always state budget, tax on cigarette and those kind of things. What happens when you tax on those cigarette and things, so short term can impact on the behavior of the consumption and the reductions of the demand. But what happened, the long term is adjust people and reaction sensitivity is very less and elasticity become inelastic, which means the short term usually the many good, if you measure the more elastic, greater than one situation, long term less than one. And also finally, consumer preference. So those are the determinants. Another important things, what we discuss, or I try to explain the elasticity related to income. Now, one of the main determinants of the demand after the price, level of income. Level of income. Now, the same way, we can measure the elasticity, income elasticity, like I explained before. You take the, let's say, the demand equation, QD, 2 minus 3P, let's say plus, it can be plus or negative, 2I. So this is the income variable. So here the coefficient are related to, or parameter related to income variable. So they are, let's say, D, simple D. So that the income elasticity you can measure simple D, I divided by QD. So here simple D here, quantity change in demand divided by quantity change in income, which means the relevant coefficient. After you estimate the demand function with the income variable there, the relevant coefficient become this part. And then the given income level, for example, as a country, let's say the current per capita income or different income group, their income, you can measure the income elasticity. Income elasticity. Now, point here, not like the price elasticity. Price elasticity, you notice that elasticity always negative. According to law of demand, relationship between the price and quantity negative, then the elasticity negative. But the income elasticity, if you measure, it can be 1 or maybe the less than 0 or greater than 0 or greater than 0 and less than 1, in between 0 and 1 or greater than 1 situation happen. Greater than 1 also happen. Whatever combination, in simple way, it can be minus, it can be 0, but 0 is the hardly happen. It can be positive number. It can be positive number. Now here, based on these numbers, we can define the goods, the particular goods, either as a superior good or kind of luxury good or normal good or an inferior good. In inferior good case, the income elasticity is negative, which means the less than 0. Less than 0. Which means the income increase demand for particular good decrease. So I'm not going to ask you, but we call some kind of goods and services this kind of inferior good. When the income increase, your demand decrease. Okay. Now, let's say the motorbike. Let's say the Maruti car. This kind of situation. And the income elasticity is in between 1 and 0. which means the decimal point, the positive, we consider that good is normal. And income elasticity is greater than 1, we consider that good is superior. That good is superior. Now, taking this point, in this income elasticity concept, relationship between income elasticity and the relationship between income and demand, we draw a curve like this normal demand curve. Taking this side income, let's say taking this side the quantity, that curve what we call angle. Angle means the Russian economist those days, and his name, angle demand curve, which the relationship between the income and quantity of demand. Angle demand curve. Now, the shape of the angle demand curve says, like I explained before, if it is negative, the angle demand curve is negative, that good is an inferior good. If it is positive, but the slope is between 0 and 1, that could be considered as the normal. It's greater than, it's positive, greater than 1, superior. Now, same good you can, in many cases, in same good you can see these 3 properties. For example, low income level. The Maruti car, maybe you feel like a luxury good. But when your income increased some level, let's say you join a job and you get the salary and middle level, and you have a Maruti car, it's a normal good. Not like low, your income relatively low level, and even every day you don't wash, then this kind of you maintain, you don't like. Your income increase further. So that same car, the Maruti car, become an inferior. I mean, this type of shape, angle curve, if you draw, you can see all these properties. Now here, high income level up to this point, at point B, above point B income level, the particular goods become luxury. Luxury. Now somewhere here, not luxury, an inferior good. Up to point B or above the point B, that good become, because the negative slope here, an inferior good. Now the low level income, let's say the below A income, somewhere here, the same good up to point A here it's become superior or luxury good. To find the point A here, if you draw a curve to find the slope index up to the cross here, the intercept is a vertical line. Now, between A and B income level, there's a drop here, intercept cross the horizontal line, but a positive slope. So this become normal. This could become normal. I hope you understood. The concept what we learned, income elasticity. The next point, here to understand cross price elasticity. The cross price elasticity, there we can understand it's about the relationship between price and quantity of two goods. They mainly help us to understand whether goods are substitute or complement or no relation. The cross price elasticity also be zero, which means there's no relationship between these two goods. Let's say the price of cars and demand for pen, kind of. The cross price elasticity can be negative also, which means the two goods are complement. And if price elasticity, cross price elasticity can be positive, two goods are substitute. So that is the other concept, but we have to learn. Similarly, if you take the supply side also, you can measure the price elasticity, input price elasticity, and take in all the other factors like technology, prices, technology elasticity, supply elasticity. Because when the technology change, how it's affect to the supply. So it's very important. Now this example is about the USA farmers and agriculture policy related example. The recent one happened in some time back in 1981. Now here what USA government, they estimate the wheat, it's about the wheat market, the supply function, the demand function. Now take a few minutes. If you are a policy maker, let's say the Department of Agriculture, the government USA, at this market price, as a policy maker, the best option, impose tax or not. Now, these are the two demand and supply functions estimated using 1981 data. Now I want to know, if you are a policymaker, at this market price, you decide to impose tax. What happened? Impose tax means after import tax, price increase, or not to impose tax. How do you find the answer? What to do a decision? Now, first, what we have to do, calculate the price elasticity, calculate the equilibrium price. So this particular example, demand and supply. And you can calculate the equilibrium price here, 3.46. We can calculate the quantity also, that come in 2,630 million percent. Now, this point, you can estimate the demand and the supply, the price elasticity. Now, when you estimate the demand elasticity, the answer what you get here, 0.35. With that answer, as a policymaker, with that answer, as a policymaker, you can judge, you can decide whether impose tax. Now, for example, here, like we discussed before, the prices somewhere here below the average mid price, and it's in the inelastic range. Look at the somewhere here. So what happened? This range we know, increase in prices increase the revenue, which means the government also can increase government revenue. Another point also that is entirely the exam matter. If you calculate the elasticity at the equilibrium point like that, if you draw your demand and supply curves and show the equilibrium point somewhere here, I deduct some marks, which means you exactly are not aware about the concept what we learn here, the elasticity change along the demand curve. Maybe some of you thinking, why I said like that? Now look at here, the elasticity, the point A, for example, here. And here, the maximum willingness to pay point. And this equilibrium point is located above the midpoint. If it's located above the midpoint, the elasticity must be greater than 1. In that case, when you draw this curve, have to draw something like that. Otherwise, I deduct marks. Because here, to below the midpoint price, this elasticity happened here, negative 0.35. So if you draw this way, I deduct at least 2 marks. This is the question. That is just to think of when you draw some curves, has to be carefully. And like I mentioned before, with the time period, short run and the long run, the elasticity change, then the shape of the demand curve also change. Now, for example, let's say the short run situation, demand curve, and the elasticity become more inelastic compared to the long run. For the long run, you have a flatter little demand curve. So income elasticity thing also we discuss. And this also I show you, and the relationship between elasticity, price change, and what happened to the total revenue. So with that graph, the relationship between demand, revenue, and the elasticity. So the midpoint and the elasticity is 1. Up to that, revenue, how increase, and PD. This is the last point today, and related to elasticity. Most probably next week we can do a group exercise. Imagine, or maybe suppose you estimate you have a firms like Coca-Cola. You are a manager. You estimate the price elasticity, Coca-Cola and the Pepsi. So those are the value. Now you see in the both case, elasticity is greater than 1, which means if price increase, definitely your income goes down. Then you need a strategy. That part is the hypothesis exam question. The calculated value I may give you. So what would be your strategy if the price increase that point? You are a small producer, small supplier. Let's say the Coca-Cola. What are your strategy? You use that. Think of that. And let's say you have measured the cross price elasticity also. Here 52 and 64. It's a positive. If it is positive, like we explained before, these two goods are definitely substitute. Of course, the Pepsi and Coca-Cola substitute. And they are understanding here, the cross price elasticity means if the price of the other goods change, what happened to your goods? So that understanding also very important. As a supplier, you have to weigh off what happened to the other product and what happened to. Now let's say that you are a retailer, you sell both Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So these values very important for you. Take some of your logistic and the marketing decision. Especially the last point, income elasticity of demand also. Now here look at the Coca-Cola income elasticity in between 0 and 1. We know in between 0 and 1, we consider as the normal good, but it's still not inferior good. Here the Pepsi greater than 1, which means, according to definition, the Pepsi become the kind of a superior to the Coca-Cola. Now, if you have a retail shop, let's say you locate in kind of a high income levels community or region, you may notice or you have to buy more Pepsi, keep store more Pepsi than Coca-Cola definitely. opposite is they have a retail shop like slum areas and kind of maybe the opposite thing. You can see, if you know the elasticity, you can. And also, if you can predict changes, including price of other goods, and income also. Let's say you can predict next month whether the income increase or decrease, and what percent also. Then your logistic arrangement, your inventories, your order thing, you can decide accordingly. Now, for example, this question, what will happen to the demand for coke if the income increase by 10%, let's say the month of July, next month? Next month. If you have the income elasticity figures, you know how many unit you order and you keep in the retailer shop next month. Now, in this case, by increase by 10%, if you predicted, you exactly can predict how many unit of how many Coca-Cola bottle or demand increase by this amount. Now, this particular example, since the income elasticity is 0.58, you can see demand for the Coke will increase by 5.8. Now, if we know that the month of July, income increase, whatever reason, so seasonal or whatever reason, if you keep the same logistic arrangement, inventory arrangement, like a month of May and June, you may face the shortage. Shortage in there. So there are many real managerial decision, practical decision we can take if you understand the concept of velocity, and if you have the number with you, whatever the product is related to service sector, it's related to tourism, it's related to what, if you keep that mind. Now the point is like the exam also I check it. Let's say that if you someone you work with the treasury or central bank or those places, with those value, those estimation, each and every key goods and services, it helped them take the decision, either tax subsidies and all that. But unfortunately, our system, whether central bank or treasury, they don't do that. Our system, they mainly, rather doing those things, they have trouble others, workers, and so many things that happen. So those things are very important. To understand elasticity and measure and keep the effective hand for that. With that, I'll stop. Next time, linked to that, I will take the government intervention to price mechanism or the policymakers intervention. So this I took is not recent study, 2022. IMF has done is a USA economy. A very interesting thing, very important to understand how policymakers think and the general public, an expert thinking pattern. Now, even you can imagine, next time I will take it again. You can imagine country like USA kind of contradictory way happen, country like Sri Lanka, because the heartbeating feeling of the normal people, their behavior does not really reflect the policymakers' reaction. There are many reasons for that. Policymakers may be like arrogant. They think they know everything. They don't do study. It'll happen. Or maybe completely theory wrong, because the policymakers may behave using theories. For example, government expenditure increase or decrease. Theoretically, what happened? The policymakers like. Or maybe that theory wrong. So this study anyway happened in USA, but if you can do a similar study in Sri Lankan context and see how our policymakers, the gap between the policymakers thinking and the real ground level behavior. With that, I'll stop today. So next week, with this, if someone want, you can read this study. It's still you can get it. And the website also there. If you want, you can read it and come to the next time class. We will continue this time. With that, I'll stop here. Though it is again early. What I did is today, try to understand the elasticity concept, and also to show you how it's really important for policy decision at the macro level, at the government policy, as well as the managerial level or at the business level as an entrepreneur manager, take the decision. So most probably next week, we will do a class exercise to understand the practicality, this elasticity again. So with that, I'll stop this point. If you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, you can leave the meeting also. The same lecture note, if you later, my YouTube there, you can read it and you can go to it. Okay, thank you very much and see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.